All right, guys, we are officially live. Today, we are talking to Martins Licis, Laurence Shahlaei. They have an arm wrestling super match coming up at the Shaw Classic, kind of a collaborative effort between the strongest arm on earth and East versus West 19. So it's just a combined event, making it awesome. But I'm really excited about this, guys. Like I wasn't sure, with this matchmaking for arm wrestling, it's much different than strongman, right? Strongman, you reach out with an invite and say, "Hey, do you want to compete?" And most of the time, it's like, "Well, what are the weights? What are what are the events? Whatever." Maybe they ask that, or most of the guys don't even care. They're just like, "Hey, I'm in." It's different with arm wrestling because you're trying to match make, right? Like you're like, "Hey, well, do you want to have a match against this guy? Like, is that all right?" And then it's like, well, right or left arm, all this different stuff comes into it. So it's been an interesting process. But I saw somebody sent me a video of Martine's arm wrestling, and they were
Oh, is
like,
that how this
"Did you
happened?
did you
Okay.
did you see this?" And I was like, "Well, I obviously knew Laurence was already well into it." And I was like, God, that would be wonderful if you guys wanted to go against each other, and it came together, man. So how are you guys feeling?
My
Really
arms,
good.
man.
Did you say your arms hurt?
Yeah. So Lawrence has had like a couple of years, I guess, in this. I got your invite, Brian, and then got to training. And after one session, it's like 3 weeks of just extreme pain. Um, I mean, I love the sport. This is a whole new universe I'm entering. I think might be good at it. It's really hard to tell at this point. Um, Yeah, it feels like my elbow's constantly being stabbed after every practice. But I'm getting power still, so that's good.
Arm wrestling when you first get into it is brutal.
It's
Just
brutal.
the pain in the elbow, it's like toothache almost when you first start. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm quite lucky now that I'm past that stage because I've been doing it for a while consistently. I get sore when I go training, and for that evening I'm sore, but the next day I feel okay. But before that, it was ruining my normal training to start with because I'd be going to arm wrestling. The next day I'd try and train shoulders or something in the gym, and I'd be screwed.
Completely, completely. It's like my pulls do feel strong. So despite the pain, I'm still going
So
in full
I've
force.
I've just been sent your videos from the weekend. You're winning the right and left-handed matches you had in your first tournament. So congratulations on that. It's I'm going to warn you, I'm a step up on that level, but
I
you,
believe
you
that.
you're
Yeah, I
you're
fully
looking pretty
believe that.
good, and it's kind of fun that we're kind of pulling each other because I think both respect each other as athletes, and we're not going to be Eddie and Oberst, I think, with the bitching at each other and stuff like that. But I think both of us are very competitive athletes. And arm wrestling for me is given, and I'm sure for Brian as well, finishing strongman, I felt a bit lost.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I'm so old that I can't be competitive in things. I still love training. I still want to go and compete with people and not just compete with people, but compete for myself and try and better myself in something. And arm wrestling's given me that. And I've had a few tournaments now and a couple of super matches, and it's exciting. I feel that hunger again, like I did when I was first getting into strongman. When we first started and we were enjoying it and it was exciting. And I've got that. You feel like a novice again, and it's been a fun couple of years for me in the sport. And I can't wait to kind of go head to head. I've got a lot of respect for Martins as an athlete. I'm actually really excited that you're coming back to strongman, and I hope that arm wrestling me doesn't kind of cause any issues to that because I warn you, I'm getting pretty good.
I believe it. Yeah, it's I've seen your forearms, my man. They're very intimidating.
A bit smooth at the
Well,
moment for me.
there's been Martins, there's been some discussion about when the first time you actually arm wrestled, because didn't you do some in China or somewhere?
I did
And you did some in Georgia, right? With
I did
Levon
a
when you did
tiny
your Strength Unknown series there.
Yeah, so I did a tiny bit in Georgia with Levon, but like we didn't go have a match or anything.
No, no,
We
yeah.
just locked hands. We did a little bit of accessories, just some practice. Um, he said nice things, so that I took it to the heart. Then I did some arm wrestling in Japan. Went up against Japan's champion there, and That went well, but the guy's small, but he beat all the big guys. So I have no idea how that correlates to what I'm getting myself into here. Because that guy relies on pure speed and technique. I'm going to be going against Laws, who's a beast.
Well, I feel like both of you guys have a very good grip. You're both known for having a great grip strength, and I feel like both of your wrists have to be pretty good as well. So, do you like as you've trained a little bit more now, Martins, do you have a particular style that you feel like you're gravitating towards? Like, do you like going more like traditional top roll, or is it like are you liking to come inside at all, or like with a hook, or I mean, how what feels like the best naturally to you?
Shoot, I don't know if I should just straight up say it.
He's
Look,
trying
You
to
don't
get all
have to.
that
I'm
tactical
asking
straight away.
questions, man. Yeah.
um, well, I'll say this. It's been mind-blowing how many components there are in this sport. There's a lot for me to think about, and just a matter of where and how to slide the elbow. Of course, all the wrist work that you can do, where the shoulders can go, and how you could lean your body in different ways. I had no idea so much actually goes into this sport, and it is a little bit overwhelming. So I'm trying to keep it simple right now.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad. It's probably not a bad idea, Lawrence. Where like over your time training, what do you feel like initially came the most naturally to you?
What came most naturally was doing things wrong.
Right? I feel like we get critiqued quite a bit. Yeah, for sure.
I think probably all of us just having that strength background is a little bit of a disadvantage when you first come into arm wrestling because there is, I think when you think of our grips, all super strong, all three of us, when it comes to holding onto bars, grip for strongman, we are super strong. But that can actually be detrimental in arm wrestling as well because you're trying to fight all the time with that power, and just learning a bit more subtleties and the specific strengths, particularly for arm wrestling. So, like I'm strong at holding bars like this, but we never work on things like rising and pronation and finger strength and containment, and they're not things that we ever focused on for strongman. So I was going up against these guys thinking, oh, my grip's strong, but that grip strength I had for strongman didn't carry over in the slightest when it came to arm wrestling. So almost trying to, and I don't know how you two, and particularly you, Brian, must have found this, and I'm sure Martins as well. When you're relatively well known in the strength world, everyone wants to help you and give you advice. And at first, that was the worst thing for me because I was getting advice from so many people and everyone's got their own way of doing things. And I just got confused and I wasn't really making much progress at all to start with. It wasn't until I started to really just focus on basics, get good at those, and then listen to like one or two people, that I made a lot more progress. And then I guess I understood more at that point as well. So some of the things that people were trying to tell me early on, I was a beginner and it was just going over my head. Whereas now they can tell me these things and I'm starting to, I've got a better feel for what's happening. I understand things a little bit better. And I learn quite slowly anyway. I'm not like Martins is an incredible athlete, just a naturally gifted athlete. Probably learns way faster than I do. A I'm a persistent beast that just keeps coming back. He's too stupid to kind of give up and I eventually get good. And I was like that in strongman, and it's been like that in arm wrestling. I'm starting to make a lot more progress now than I did, when I first started.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, everybody, and the interesting part with arm wrestling is I feel like almost everybody's got their own way that has worked for them and they want to share. Like most of the guys are very open to trying to help and they want to help and the truth is everybody's built differently, right? So there's going to be things that come more naturally, but for example, one of the hardest things for me is getting familiar with the table and moving at the table because it's not very big, right? Like it's just not a huge thing. So it's like, how do you manipulate your body to get in the right spot to apply power, this type of stuff. But I think you're exactly right. Getting advice from too many people can be a bad thing because then you're going in this direction, then you're going in that direction, then you're working on this. And I think that what, at least for me, what seemed to be the best is to kind of take all of that advice and then go back in the gym and just work by myself. And essentially it's like a trial and error. And I kind of did that same thing with strongman, to be fair. I would go to, like, especially early on with contests, I would go watch different guys that were very good at certain events. And sometimes it would carry over for me, and sometimes it didn't work at all. They would do something different, and I'd be like, all right, trial and error. I'm going to go try this. If it works, I'll try to keep it and develop it. If not, it just doesn't work. And I think that's me being able to kind of go in my own gym and just work on different things and feel how it translates over has been really good for me. And then I gain more confidence through work. I mean, I think that anytime you train, same thing with strongman. The more you train, the more confident you become. So
Sure.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to be one-on-one with a few different arm wrestlers in different settings, like a car ride for an hour or just eating food for 30 minutes. And every time I'm blown away. How can such a simple, what I thought was a simple sport, be talked about nonstop for over an hour without interruption? It's yeah, I've had that overload multiple times already, and it's like at this point just thinking, okay, I need a few things that I'm just going to focus on and nothing else. It's pretty remarkable, but how much can go into this sport and how much can be talked about.
Yeah.
you for sure can. There's some people that are commenting, and they're concerned that you just did that tournament, and
Yeah,
especially that you did it so close to this, and if it's going to hinder what you're able to do with Lawrence.
maybe. I mean, at this point, I just got to throw stuff at a wall. Um, I do think, like Laurence said, I can pick things up pretty quickly, but Laurence has that experience that is just, you cannot deny that. I think I also can recover quick enough, so I think my arm will be fine. I mean, I did that tournament already hurting, and my power was there when I needed it. And instead of going against like 10 guys, I just got to go against Laurence.
Easy day.
Maybe going against one Laurence is worse than than an entire tournament.
Well, the super match format is different, right? Like a tournament, you're just in a bracket and you go, win, lose, there you go. But with a super match, there's different strategy, obviously,
Yeah,
and something might work. There might be a lane that opens up, and then it's how do you adjust every round to that as well, and then in between the rounds, especially, how are you recovering, like mentally and physically? Like if your arm gets blown up, how do you come back and put your elbow back down? And
yeah,
as you get that fatigue setting in, it's a different spot you kind of have to go mentally. So it'll be because Lawrence has more experience with that for sure. So it'll
yeah,
be it'll be interesting to see how you adapt to that, and what position you potentially get exposed in if you do. I mean, I'm actually very fascinated by you guys with this. Like, I think it's going to be really interesting. And I think Lawrence is going to probably be able to take that deep breath and be a little bit calmer just because he's been in the scenario more. But I'm curious, man, because Martins, you seem to be a gamer with pretty much everything you do. And I don't mean like actually video games. I mean like you step up when you have to step up.
it's a bit of
Um,
both, right?
yeah. I think you do a bit of both. Yeah, but yeah, man, I'm excited to see, how you guys, how you attack each other, how, the energy is, you going back and forth, and what this strategy will be. I think you're both going to think about this quite a bit, and how you're going to attack. Lawrence, with watching some of Martine's stuff, have you seen anything that you think is an open lane for you?
There's areas I feel I can cause him problems, definitely. I mean, Martin, like I said, like first and foremost, Martins is a supreme athlete. When it comes to arm
You're
strength and
being
stuff,
too kind. You're being too
no,
kind.
no, look, just
Buttering me up and then bam.
well, hopefully that's the plan, but that's the A plan. But the reality is, like, your bicep strength is huge, your arm strength way stronger than mine in terms of arm strength. I would say hand strength and wrist strength, we're going to be very similar. I don't think there's a huge, great difference. A lot of people don't appreciate how strong my grip is and my hand strength. I think it's up there with some of the best in the world, as you two are, two of the best in the world with that. But your grip strength doesn't scare me. I think we're similar in that. I think arm strength, definitely you are on another level. However, I feel I've probably had time to develop more specific arm wrestling strength
Yeah.
in some of the
What I'm concerned about is like your ability to articulate and control your wrist.
I'm hoping that I have an advantage there somewhere.
I,
And I also think because I've been doing it a little bit longer than you, I probably can just naturally feel through things a little bit
yeah.
quicker than maybe someone that's newer. Now, you just might be too strong, and I can't do anything about that. But I'm hoping that I can find a weakness somewhere. I've kind of watched your videos. You look really good for someone that's new to arm wrestling, way better than I did at the kind of the same time frame. Um, but I do feel confident watching some of your matches. I saw from the tournament, you look good, but there was nothing there that kind of I thought, there's no one I could kind of deal with. I've had novice tournament experience, I've had pro level tournament experience, and I've had a couple of super matches as well. Tournaments actually went a lot better for me than super matches, by the way. So my super match record is pretty diabolical, but tournaments I tend to do a lot better at. Um, Probably just because I'm quite explosive and fast twitch muscle fibers. But I think we're going to have an interesting match. You're a great athlete. You're someone that just gets stuck in and learns things quickly. I've got a little bit more experience, so I think it's going to be fun. I'm coming in confident. I have to, I have to come in believing that I can win this. I think a lot of people probably weirdly expect me to win this because you're so new to it. But I've been training really hard, knowing that I need to because Martins is a beast. It's not something that I've kind of just, thought, it's Martins, I'll beat him easily. I've been training harder than I've ever trained in arm wrestling for this experience. And not just because I'm against you, but we are, as a collective, we're going on the highest level arm wrestling platform there is in East versus West,
Incredible.
which is mind boggling. And I'm sure like there's arm wrestlers watching thinking, why are these three big kind of meatheads doing arm wrestling when they've only been doing it for a short period of time? The reality is Brian set these matches way before it became East versus West. We were, I'm there for doing the commentating for the strongman, really looking forward to that. But we had this opportunity and then it suddenly became a bigger opportunity. And I'm thinking, all right, I've got this opportunity to be on the biggest arm wrestling platform there is. I love arm wrestling. I love strongman. I am not coming here, unprepared. I'm coming to bring the best that I can possibly bring. And, win, lose, or draw, I know I've done everything I can to put my best performance out there.
This truly is an incredible honor. And I can one thing that I learned coming into this is like you said, we all come from a crazy strength background, but these subtle strengths in arm wrestling, they cannot be built overnight. I've definitely learned that there are certain things that arm wrestlers could do that just take years of training to accomplish, and I ultimately have to rely on some of my original strengths and hope that they can make up for the weaknesses that I'm going to be having going into this. So that'll be interesting. And gosh,
That's
Brian, what you're
perfect.
doing
So
is one of the most incredible. This is one of the most incredible shows that exists in strongman. And truly, thank you so much for having me on board. And hopefully next year, if you allow me, I would love to compete in your strongman show as well. That'll be my last year in strongman, so why not give it a go?
yeah, man. Well, look, it's the strongman side of things, and we could talk a little bit more about that too. But it's exciting, man. A lot of the guys are excited, a lot of fans excited about that. And I think the goal with the arm wrestling is to have some crossover as well from all the fans that are coming already making the trip to watch the strongest man on earth contests. And if they pop in for some arm wrestling, we expose them to it, kind of bring them in. Because I think arm wrestling for a lot of people is something they would watch from the outside, but they don't necessarily understand how intricate it is. And when two guys are trying to find a grip, and why it's taking long for the referee to get them set up, and why it can't just be put your elbow down and go. And I think that, like, explain that, and we've done a lot with the pre-planning of the production to have the in-person crowd more involved, give them a little bit more understanding of what's going on. Same thing with the live stream, just because I think when you, like Martine, you said it best, it's like guys that are in arm wrestling could talk about arm wrestling forever. And, they kind of take for granted maybe that some new people coming in don't understand what rising is or pronation is, or, being able to cup and the different types of, setups and what maybe somebody bringing their shoulder forward means, or, like however they set up. And I think that the more that we can explain that in a very simple level to new fans, right? So we're welcoming to new fans of the sport. And the same thing, in all fairness, I was strongman as we were putting on the contest here with the strongest man on earth, and as the Shaw Classic has grown. I also kind of took for granted that people understood exactly what was going on with strongman. So, one of the things that we try to do is to explain, like if somebody's pressing a dumbbell, what do they have to do to get a down call? What is the referee looking for? And some fans, people that are in strongman, that's a no-brainer. It's just like, okay, well, we know what's going to happen. But somebody new that just walked in the arena, it's their first time watching strongman, they're not going to know, right? But the more that they know, the more excited they get about understanding what's going on. And so I think if we can do a good job of that and not take for granted, because somebody that's experienced with arm wrestling, they're not gonna worry if we're talking about a setup or you're explaining it in more simple terms so people can understand. But somebody that doesn't understand, if you explain it to them so they can understand, it's going to make it a heck of a lot more fun. So I really hope that we can do that, and just kind of ask the normal questions like, hey, what's going on here? What's happening? That type of stuff. So we do have a couple super chats. Deep says new member, appreciate that. Mills M says Martines in all capitals.
Or
Um, yeah.
two.
uh, Dennis says Brian Shaw versus Leonidas Arcona. What do you think? People have talked about that. I've got to worry about Brandon Allen first, is what I would say. That's my main focus right now. Martins and Lawrence, if you had to describe yourself as an animal, which one are you picking? An animal, and maybe say why. Which one are you picking and why?
I'm waiting for Laws to go first.
That's an interesting question.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Liz is just shouting out, say gorilla, but why? Because I'm hairy.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
hairy. And I like to eat. There we go.
Okay.
I'd say maybe dolphin. They know
Okay.
how the dolphin. They know how to have a good time, and they're mischievous little guys.
Fair enough. Fair enough, man. Let's see, Brian, your lifting belts are amazing. Thanks for making them fat boy friendly. You're welcome. um, yeah, man. I look. I think that on the strongman side of this thing, and the way the weekend works as a whole, it's what we're trying to really do is make it all about strength. So the whole weekend is about strength, really positive energy. The expo free to the public. You get to come in. We're going to have the arm wrestling tournament will go down on Friday the 15th in the expo. And then we'll have guest speakers on the stage throughout the weekend at different times. A lot of vendors, a lot of stuff going on. This year we've got powerlifting coming as well. That'll go down in the expo. And then we've got the arm lifting going on. And then, it's really the crossover, right? I think that a lot of fans can be, fans of strongman, fans of arm wrestling, fans of powerlifting, all of these different things kind of intermingle. I mean, they're a little bit different, but at the same time, like most people that like strength, because I would say arm wrestling is a strength combat sport. I think that's probably the best. Like in my head, that makes sense. It's like, because ultimately, yeah, you can have all the technique, but you also have to be strong enough to apply the technique, and make it
I don't know about
work.
you guys, but like I love all the sports that you've got going on at the festival. Like I'm someone that just loves strength in general. So I like
Yes.
weightlifting, I like powerlifting, I like bodybuilding, I like strongman, arm wrestling, grip stuff. I like all that kind of stuff. So it's just like I'm like a kid in a candy shop with everything that's going on.
It's been too long not having a competition like this. The world needs the Shaw Classic.
It's going to be fun, man. I think that my favorite part above all of it, and this is what I walk away most of the time. It's always great to see the athletes happy and the smiles on their face for sure. And that's where it starts, right? Like it's by the athletes for the athletes. That was the whole thought process. And we've really tried to stick with that. But all the fans that come, it's like you can tell how much they walk away with like positive energy, right? So, maybe some people aren't as motivated, but they walk in the door and they're like, holy cow, look at all this stuff going on. And I want to set new goals and I want to go do things with my life and accomplish different things. And I think that the different people you meet and see there, like that is such a huge thing. So if anybody is watching this and wants to come, there are still tickets available for arm wrestling, for strongman, and the expo is free. So if you just want to come out and see what it's all about, you can come check it out as well there. But yeah, we're talking arm wrestling with Laurence Shahlaei, Martins Licis, and right now these guys, I feel like you're both being very kind to each other. I'm wondering if we get closer, if the talking is going to escalate, like if there's going to be more confidence that comes out, or it's going to stay very much like this. Laurence, what I'm curious, man. I said this to somebody. Do you remember, like, let's just go back to like 2008, right?
Yeah.
2008, Lawrence. Do you remember that you used, because we all had those sticks, the massage
Yeah.
sticks, right? And I remember like we were all getting ready. I'm pretty sure it was our first event because we were in the same group in 2008. And I'm pretty sure you were walking around and like hitting yourself with the stick, like you were pacing back and forth and just like you'd whack yourself with that stick. And it was like I loved it. I actually loved it. But I think that we need to get you one of those and give it to you on the stage and let you do that just
I've
as like a
I've still got the
throwback.
stick. I've
Well,
still got
I'll
the
whack
stick.
him. Don't worry, I could handle that part.
The stick is still around somewhere. I'll have to dig it out. Yeah, I've probably mellowed a little bit as I've got older, definitely. But there's
Yeah.
still a bit of that fire in there. I have my moments in the gym. Like I can still do some impressive stuff. And there's moments. I don't know how you two find it. I find like I can't do it as consistently as I could and as regularly as before. But there's times like I'll have the guys in the gym, young up and coming strongmen, and I'll jump in and I'll still kick their ass on some stuff. And
Love it. I love
there's a
it.
little bit of fire there. And actually, recently I've been enjoying my training more than ever. I don't know what it was like for you, Brian, finishing strongman. For me, a lot of it was injuries were causing pain. So like I was training and it was painful. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I obviously retired and I changed my training, lost a lot of weight. And then the last sort of year, my body's actually felt pretty good and I've started to get a
Mm.
bit stronger again. Obviously, found arm wrestling, which gave me that motivation. And I am enjoying training again more than I have in the last 10 years. And I'm feeling better than I have in the last 10 years. So I'm just trying to enjoy it. And arm wrestling is certainly a big part of me enjoying my training again. So I have no resentment to my opponent at the moment. I'm still like I want to stay with arm wrestling for a long time. So win,
Yeah.
lose, or draw against Martins, that is not the end for me. I want to learn from this experience, put on a good show, go away and think, okay, what did I do well? What did I do badly? What can I get better at? And then go again for something else. It's not a one and done at all. I'm at the arm wrestling club every week. I'm doing a session in the gym every week on arm wrestling. I train 5 days a week, just like bodybuilding sessions. And I'll
Yep.
often throw an arm wrestling movement at the end of each bodybuilding session just to kind of work on blood flow or something. So I'm very much kind of, 100% in on this and just enjoying training more than I have in such a long time that it's fun again. So, and that's why I started training in the first place. I didn't start strongman thinking I'm going to be the world's strongest man. I just thought lifting these rocks is cool. Pulling a truck looks cool. Flipping a car looks cool. And
Yeah.
then it was very much compete. What was good? What wasn't good? What can I get better at? I'm going to get better for the next time. And that's how I always was with strongman. Got to a pretty good level. Not quite as good as you two, but I won some major competitions. It was, one of the best in the world for a long time. And with arm wrestling, it's not like an end goal. It's I've got to get better. I want to be better than I am right now. So there's other people you could throw me against that I could give some shit talk to. That one of them's going to be competing against a certain Eddie Hall, and maybe
Oh
if we
yeah,
both
yeah.
win, we can call each other out. But with Martins, there's nothing there to. You look at the guy. You want to give him a hug. You don't want to kind of talk shit to him.
It's hard to resent laws, man. I mean, after all, we're just going in there to hold hands. That's really what it comes down to. But
It's
yeah,
so
no,
funny.
I'm gonna be a keyboard warrior. The moment the screen goes off, I'm gonna be on my phone.
Love it. So we got Michael Mann says, Brian, love the schedule for the weekend you just released. Yeah, we just put that out. So anybody that's coming, we just put out the full schedule of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you can check that out on theshawclassic.com or on Instagram as well. Laws and Martins, thank you for competing for us. Benji Mack, awesome. I've gotten the chance to meet you, Brian. Fun times rocking Rammstein to the tournament, brother. Martins double
Yes.
gold at the UAL was epic. Houdini Sports, question to each athlete. What is your pre-game meal? Also, are you guys big on the smelling salts? So
Oh, it's
pre-game
been a
meal and
while
smelling
since I
salts.
pulled out smelling salts. So that might be the thing that really tips me over into animal mode. Um, Pre-game meal. Well, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, Brian, so I'm going to have to take some suggestions from you. I love barbecue. Of course, that has to be many, many hours before any kind of show because
There's a great barbecue place there, and I think we're taking you guys there.
yes,
Awesome,
So
awesome.
barbecue is the
yeah,
best food in the world,
Listen,
my friends.
yeah,
I'm even happier about coming now if we're going for barbecue. So
yeah. It's I'll tell you what, man. Sometimes it's the simple things. It's just like good food and barbecue. Most people seem to like barbecue, you know.
hey,
You
if
know,
you're a
I've traveled
strength
the
athlete,
world.
you tend to like that kind of stuff. So
I've done quite a bit of traveling, and I love food from around the world. But I feel like a lot of the rest of the world does not understand how delicious American smoked barbecue is. It is some of the best food there is.
It's
Period.
good. Yeah, 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 absolutely. So
we were just on
so will you
vacation.
be hitting smelling salts?
That's a good reminder. Yeah, kind of like laws. I've been much more tame lately.
Yeah,
And I found that in some ways it's good because I just feel like I don't have the same adrenaline reserve I used to have. I used to be a very adrenal athlete to really pull out a competitive strength and go up against guys like you, Brian Shaw. It's like I had to dig deep to find that explosive power. Lately, I found that I don't need to as much, which is nice because then I could, like Laws was saying, just enjoy training more because every time it felt like a life or death situation. Like I had to get into this dark headspace to pull out like this flight or fight instinct out of me to be able to do the weights that were in front of me. Now I don't need to as much, which is nice. So training is less painful. That is very nice. But I'm gonna when it comes to show day, I need to get back into that headspace 100%. So smelling salts all the way, my friends.
it's a different. I will say, I think it's a different adrenaline rush. You know, with arm wrestling, it's like the build up, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with like the press conference and all the build up and all that stuff. But it's very different once you put your elbow down because you're gonna have your walkout. The crowd's hyped, everybody's there right on top of you, and then it's like that moment. I feel like that moment. I mean, starting a big strongman contest, the very first event when you finally get that go, you have that. But this is different. It's just different. It's different in a way that, like, obviously, it's another human being you're standing across, and now it's a very definite win and lose. Right with strongman, it's like, all right, you're lifting something, and yes, you want to excel and win, but if you don't lift it, it's not like your arm's going the wrong direction, right? Like this is so if you're not ready, like it's there's a certain adrenaline rush that is it's just different, and that's the best way I could say it. But I mean, I feel like with the build up and the walkout and the hype and everything, it's like that's always the funnest, right? Is like that initial go. How is it going to feel? And I know for me, it's with Brandon here, I'm excited because I want to just feel like what his hand feels like and what kind of power he's got in there, because you don't know. Like you can say training this, training that, but until that moment happens, you don't 100% really know, right? Like, so I think that I'm
Yeah.
excited for that because the initial go or grip up or whatever happens there, I know there's a lot of information that's going to be downloaded just in that moment for me that will hopefully make me feel a heck of a lot better about like, all right, well, I'm good. I feel good here. Whatever. I know how to attack this and I should be fine. But it's who knows? Maybe he puts his arm down and he's super strong. And it's like, all right, now I've got to figure out something different here. Or on that initial go, I don't get what I want or whatever, right? Like all of that stuff is all going to play out in such a quick few moments with that, especially the first match, and then you get dug in. Round two, do you attack it differently? And that's what's so fascinating, I think, with the super match format of arm wrestling. You guys like sitting down. It's like I'm very curious the initial attack, and I know you're probably both not going to say like what that's going to be, but I'm very curious where you will try to attack each other in this match.
I am
I'm
too.
I'm pretty convinced where both of us are going to go. I don't think we've got enough confidence and experience to try too many kind of crazy things, but I've got a good idea of, especially from watching what I've seen. I think he's going to focus on a top roll. It's going to be a good hand battle between us both, and I think whoever can get that advantage is going to take the win. But you never know.
Do
It's
you guys like straps? Do you prefer straps or are you kind of good with either way?
I've practiced a lot more in straps recently because I used to struggle in straps. I didn't do much strap work, so I've purposely tried to do a lot more recently because it almost feels completely different. It's a different kind of game.
It is for sure. Yeah, different approach. Martins, have you done both or do you
I've
feel
played
more
around with
comfortable?
both. Some part of me thinks that I kind of straps would be nicer because there's less of that reliance on all the wrist stuff, and I could put a little bit more of just pure power into it, which would be nice. But I don't know. Maybe Laws has some things up his sleeve with the straps that I'm not aware of. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, it really is. There's this funny thing is strongman. You go up against implements. They don't mess with your head. Right now, Laws is saying stuff, and I can't tell if he's just being nice or if he's messing with my head. The strong, Hammer Stone isn't gonna do that to me.
I'm nice, but I'm never that nice,
Oh,
Martins.
I know, I know. I'm not buying this act, Laws. You're messing with my head right now. But lucky for me, there's not much going on up here. There's not much you can mess with.
Luckily, I know that that's not true. So,
No, it's not.
Martins tries to play this kind of simple character, but he's a smart guy. He knows what
Oh
he's doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Curvin H says if it was world's nicest man comp, it would be tight. It would be tight. That's awesome.
Shit talking is not one of my skills.
No, no. Jim Knee Crickets. Jim Knee
Jiminy
interesting.
crickets.
There's a Venn diagram for everything. What is that for arm wrestling and Moss wrestling? Any crossover in combat strategy? I feel like Martins, you would have the most experience with Moss wrestling.
Yeah.
If this was Moss
Well,
wrestling, I'd be very, very worried. Very worried. Martins is awesome at that.
So Moss Wrestling, I mean, I have 3 world titles in that. Um, and that was a sport that very much so like arm wrestling. The first year I went there, I thinking, okay, this is just deadlift power. Against all Americans, it was very simple, just head on, just who could pull harder would win. Then I went to the World Championships in Siberia, Yakutsk. Um, and I went up against some Russians that look like they haven't lifted a day in their life. And I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. These guys were able to move laterally so quickly that it's like if you ever feel like your deadlift gets pulled like outside of your center mass, it doesn't matter how strong you are, you're not lifting. It's like they just took me out of my strength so quickly it was very eye-opening. I think there's a similar aspect in arm wrestling that a weaker opponent could take a stronger opponent outside of their realm of strength where they feel strong and then get the advantage. That's a whole aspect of this sport that I got to learn, that I want to be able to apply for Moss wrestling, but truly I can only understand that that concept exists, but I don't quite know the subtleties to look for yet.
I think that's a great, honestly, great answer. I would imagine that it's, to be fair, I'm still in that same boat, right? Like, it's versus, probably right now I'm more power on power. That's probably what's going to happen. And like, there's redirecting and getting people outside their lane where they're not powerful, where they don't want to go. I mean, I guess some of that for me with Brandon. So Chance Shaw commented, "Hope you're doing well, man. Good luck with Brandon. If you win, Shaw versus Shaw. So who knows, man? Chance Shaw. That would probably be an interesting one for me. But yeah, I think that there's certain things that I've worked on with Brandon, for example, because he's got a sticky Kings move where I have to avoid that or I have to go straight through it, right? Like one of those two things. And I think me being the competitive person that I am, I kind of want to do both. Um, but you also want to kind of avoid the trap a little bit. So I think that hand and wrist, I can get a lot of control with him and then take him more where I want to go versus me having to go through where he's the strongest. So I think, in the moment yes, that adrenaline race, but you also need to be able to think through what you're doing and not panic, but stay in control of where you're going and how you're controlling the match too. So it's a fascinating thing though, but redirecting, and guys that walk up, like Laurence said, he's going to be able to download probably a little bit more information from you, Martins, about where you're strong, where, these type of thing. But that only comes through repetition and it just comes through experience. So it's that, but again, at the end of the day, we had this same conversation about MMA, jujitsu, stuff like that, right? Like if somebody's just flat out ridiculously stronger, they could have the worst technique in the world and moves that might work don't work. And I think it's the same with arm wrestling. It's like you may be able to know, hey, I want to go here, but if the person you're across from is just too flat out strong, you can't move them to get them outside of their power. So I think that's the fascinating battle with this is you maybe know what the right moves are, but if you're not strong enough to execute those moves, that's where the problem, like you're going to hit a wall and you're not going to be able to get through it.
Yeah, strong enough and also explosive and fast enough.
Yeah.
That's something I definitely learned from visiting Japan, that those little guys, they can get you, they could move so fast sometimes that it's hard to catch that moment. So it really is a mix of all. You need the technique, you need the speed, and you need the strength.
Love it. So Julian Morales, shout out to Hector and Julian, appreciate that. Houdini Sports, Eddie and Robert have a bet. Whoever loses wears a dress. Are you guys joining in on this, or maybe a different bet?
You just wearing a dress is just an everyday occurrence, isn't it? For us.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people are getting big on these side bets with the matches. I don't know. I don't. You
I'm
guys,
happy just to have a good old fashioned match.
that's probably fair, man. Probably fair. Um, let's see. Jamie and Brian, are you as dedicated to grip training with arm wrestling? While people like Devin rely on escaping, I feel your grip changes the landscape by keeping someone on the table uncomfortably. I think that so I would say that like I've probably done more specific hand training and wrist, especially wrist work with arm wrestling than I ever did with strongman. Most of my grip training with strongman, to be completely honest, was done during my normal training. So I would do a lot of thick bar type of work. If I was doing pull downs, I was always doing a thick bar pull down. So I would try to incorporate it. So I wasn't doing a lot of side specific grip work with strongman, or if you know if you're doing frame carries or farmer carries or whatever, that type of stuff. But I think that having a strong grip is in arm wrestling is not it's not a weakness, but also there's certain times where you definitely don't want to hold on. And I think for us, for myself, I can definitely say at certain points, the tendency is because we're so used to crushing and grabbing that you hold on too much. And then when you hold on too much, you give your opponent something to leverage off of with your fingers. So there's certain moments where having a strong grip can be a really good thing. And it's definitely a tool you want to have in your shed. I think it's not going to be a bad thing, but also you don't want to walk in and just squeeze necessarily because it gives way too much. Like for example, if your fingers dig in, all they have to do is roll into your fingers and try to open your hand up. So
It's almost understanding when you need to apply that
yeah,
power, not with arm wrestling. It's not like strongman where you've just got to hold on tight. You kind of the grip strength is important to a degree at times, but there's
yes,
times you've got to be the smart guy and not try to use that strength and
big
just
time.
but and that's something for all of us we're still learning. I mean,
Yep.
there's it's fun having the good thing with arm wrestling is you can kind of get level matches and they can be amazing to watch. But if any of us arm wrestle like one of the top pros, we're going to get our asses kicked. The level is huge in terms of jumping up, and
Yep.
it's we've still got lots to learn. But we could potentially be a lot stronger than some of those guys in certain areas. But our understanding of actual arm wrestling still isn't to that kind of level, and it's such a humbling experience. I mean, you've arm wrestled with Neil Pickup, and just picking that guy's brain is incredible. Just the amount of knowledge that he has on arm wrestling, and you kind of you might think one thing, and then suddenly he's making you think completely differently. And
Mhm.
I feel like my journey in arm wrestling is like that. I think I know something, and then suddenly I realize I know very, very little.
Yep. So nutty nut you, however you say that, sorry, man. Does hand size matter in arm wrestling? I would say yes. I would say definitely yes for coverage. Um, I would say it's definitely one of those things that most guys that arm wrestle are like, all right, how big is your hand? You know, and how thick is your hand too? Like a lot of those things can come into play. So I would say if you could choose, you would choose to have bigger hands if possible.
I'm so new at this. I can't really imagine where a smaller hand has an advantage. But again, I'm so new that there's going to be things that blow my mind every step of this journey.
There's different ways to arm wrestle as well. I think in general a big hand helps, but there's some amazing arm wrestlers out there with small hands.
Yeah,
So
Neil Pickup is one of
Neil
them.
Pickup's a great
Yeah,
example of
yeah,
that. There's other guys as well, and there's I think the interesting thing with arm wrestling, a bit like boxing, is like there's different styles,
yeah.
and styles can kind of make matches as well. And you may be rubbish at conventional stuff, but really good at a certain move, and it might not involve hand strength as much, or the need for a bigger hand, or you might be so fast that you can kind of work around someone's hand. There's always like if you're an arm wrestler out there or want to be arm wrestler, don't let having a small hand put you off getting into it. Is all I'm
No,
saying.
no, yeah. Julian Morales, what's the go-to song or music before you go out and bus training? What type of music do you guys like?
Well, my go-to is Rammstein, pretty much
Rammstein. Okay, okay.
ever since I was a kid. That's my when I first got into lifting, it was with my dad, and pretty much every day in those early days, he would be blasting Rammstein in the car on the way to the gym, and it's like that's just ingrained in me. So when I really want to get pumped up, it's always Rammstein. It just takes me back to the very beginning of it all,
Love it.
with my dad starting this journey.
Most people in the strength world, they love that kind of like hardcore stuff, and it's all fun. But I can listen to anything, yeah, absolutely anything, depending on kind of my mood. My wife's kind of found some cool remixes recently of some interesting stuff that I just like a good beat, and
Yeah.
if it kind of feels like it's getting me in the mood, getting me hyped up. I don't know if you guys have seen Alexei Novikov's Walk On music at Giants Live.
I don't
I
think I
couldn't
have
even tell
no.
you what it is, but it just kind of played loud in an arena. It just sounds really cool, and I used to kind of like that. I find some weird kind of things that just get me going, and then I can listen to like Elvis as well. I've done powerlifting comps with like Elvis
That's
playing, so
that's a wide spectrum, man.
yeah, yeah, it's
That's beautiful. Yeah.
all depends on my mood. I'm not one of those guys that has to have music to get me fired up. You know, you see some people with the big headphones in the gym and they need it. I can lift in silence. I can lift with like, everything kind of going off. You can have a bomb going off next to me. When I'm in the zone, I don't even notice. I'm so
Sure.
focused on what I'm
Zoned
doing. But
in.
yeah.
Lately, I've had a lifting buddy, and who's becoming a very good friend of mine. We have opposite tastes, and it's been hilarious. So, like when I go in for a lift, I'll put on my industrial metal, and then he goes in for a lift. He puts on Taylor Swift.
Oh
And
Yeah.
my
at some
gosh.
point, I just forget to change the music, and I just accept that Taylor Swift is playing, and then the rest of the session is Taylor Swift.
Funny. Huh. So Sam I am says Martins is headed back to strongman, as noted earlier, but does he see this event as a one-off or does he see a potential future in arm wrestling?
That's a good question. So, doing this has sparked a love and respect for arm wrestling that just wasn't quite to this level before. So now I am interested in continuing this journey. But the thing is, I've also fallen in love with jujitsu. Like after I'm done strongman, 100%, I want to give jujitsu my all and see what I can do competing there. But with that said, there are certain strengths that just take a long time to develop in arm wrestling, beyond just the technique, just all that wrist control. So I think my strategy will be that while I'm getting ready for jiu-jitsu and my final year in strongman, I'm going to continue doing the little accessories for arm wrestling, but try not to do too many full intense like practices or matches that destroy my arms. So I'm going to build up that strength to a point where hopefully when I do return to like full on intense arm wrestling matches and practices, I'll have built my arm up in a way where it's not in sheer pain all the time.
Well, that's so you think you'll do another match.
For
I think
sure.
that's what everybody wants to
I
hear.
think I love this enough that I want to include it in my training. I think the accessories for arm wrestling, frankly, are phenomenal for jiu-jitsu and strongman both. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think that doing full-on intense practices is reasonable because then that just shuts off my strength for pretty much all of strongman, and I can't even do jiu-jitsu. Uh,
yeah,
but as long as I'm doing those little accessories, not overly intense, and allow that arm wrestling strength, base strength to build up over years, then when I get into practice more, I'll be able to handle that intensity better.
completely fair. Mighty Mo, Brian, you're 6'8". I don't know. This has been a big thing. I don't know if I'm exactly 6'8". At one point I was, but I think I'm under that.
He's done a
Yeah,
lot of yoke carries, guys, probably
yeah,
more than
heavy,
anyone.
heavy yoke.
We're all an inch or two shorter than we used to be.
Yeah, man. So do you know what height you were at 13? 13 would have been what, eighth grade? So I was probably I don't know, 6'2", maybe, something like that. Um, let's see, Valhalla, what's everyone's max for dumbbell curls? Max for dumbbell curls.
Well,
I haven't maxed that, I will say that, but I don't know if
I've
you,
My arms are weak as shit. I've torn both my biceps.
you have.
uh,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I just did this one not too long ago, so I'm with you there,
Proximal.
Laz.
It's yeah, strongman is brutal. Like I don't know how you guys find it. People keep saying, "Oh, you got to be real careful doing arm wrestling. It's really dangerous." I'm like, "Did you see my strongman career?
No,
Arm
seriously.
wrestling's
Yeah.
easy."
Yeah. I
So
don't know why. I genuinely don't know. Well, I guess I do understand why, but I feel like that everybody's notion is like, oh, arm wrestling is so dangerous, but yet strongman for sure is like injury risk is much higher. I think as long as you know how to stay safe with the arm wrestling and not get in really bad
And
spots.
there's risk to everything, and obviously there's risk
100%.
to arm wrestling. But yeah, strongman was way more dangerous.
Yeah, big time. Um, so have you done much with dumbbell curls or not? Is that included or not included?
so in the past, my biceps actually used to be much stronger than they are now. I've been able to do like preacher curls with 70s. I've done 100-pound curls just standing with minimal cheat,
Yeah.
just like with no swinging at least. Lately I'd say I'm probably 80% of that strength. I haven't really
Okay.
tested it much. A
I
lot of
think
arm
things
wrestling
like
gives me pain.
bicep curls and preacher curls and stuff like that, the way you do them makes a big difference. Like
Yep.
someone asked me the other day, like, "Oh, how much can you kind of curl?" I can swing a big weight up, but
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean my biceps doing much of that work. So I don't really care for. I've never like judged my strength on what I can curl.
That's
Yes.
a
It's
really good point.
Yeah. I mean, if yeah, how much body English, right? Like you've got into it is like you could throw more, but yeah, some people get real caught up in that. It's like, I know Brandon Allen, for example, is like very big on his strict curl, and he
yeah.
feels like the higher the strict curl goes, the better he is on the arm wrestling table. But he's also doing it. I would argue that it's more brachialis and brachioradialis than bicep because the bar that he's doing is a close grip, but also um, his hand position is not fully supinated, right? Like it's more inside. So
And that
I
probably
can
does
see
have more
where that lift
carryover for
could.
his style of arm wrestling.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. And certain people, I mean, I think naturally you're gonna have lifts that carry over for you that you maybe feel stronger in. So yeah, it's
Like
interesting.
the three of us probably had lifts in the gym that we really liked that the others didn't do for strongman, but we felt
Yeah, of
it made us
course.
better. You know,
Of course.
there's certain lifts that
That's
people
a dang good
find,
point.
and I think it's going to be the same with arm wrestling. It's going to be the same with jujitsu. All, everyone's a little bit different. Everyone's built differently. They find certain exercises have better carryover than other exercises. It's just normal.
And it goes to say also, like, of course, having a stronger bicep is better than having a weaker bicep. But there's so many strengths that go and aspects that go into arm wrestling and all these sports that, if you have a weak link in the chain, that's going to get exposed and you're not going to be able to express the full strength of your strength.
Yeah. So let's see. Dixon and says long brachioradialis, number one important genetic body part. Carter Peterson, what strongest man on earth event are you guys most excited to watch out of
I'm
all of
really
them?
looking forward to the log lift. I think that's going to be a fun start to the competition. I'm also looking forward to the yoke. Just an event I obviously used to enjoy doing, but looking forward to seeing how the guys cope on that.
You got
Yeah.
some heavy stones in this show, don't you, Brian?
Heavy stones. Yes.
I'm here for the stones all
All
the way.
right.
I am so stoked to see some big Atlas stones go up. That's my game.
Do you think anybody's loading the 600 Martins?
Oh, I hope so. I'm gonna edge on yes. They better. It's out there. I want to see it lifted. We know it's possible.
That would be so cool. I tell you what, I think if a 500-pound log happens, that'll be ridiculous, right? And then I think that's like obviously then you're in world record territory for sure. But the 600-pound stone, I feel like there's a couple lifts that if they happen, the crowd is just gonna erupt. Like it'll just be ridiculous. And that's yeah, I'm excited to see that. I would love to see somebody lift that 600-pound stone. That for sure.
I've
Which
seen
Um,
some guys looking
which
really
event is
strong in
the stone,
training.
by the way?
what's that?
How many events in is the stone lift?
Stone lift is number four, the end of day
Okay.
one. End of
Okay,
day one.
it's possible then. I think that considering how exhausted these guys will be going into that is a factor. Four events in it's doable.
I
I'm
think,
putting my
well,
bets on it.
We,
yeah,
we, we
I
saw the
tell you what,
550 go
it's
last year, didn't we? The 550 was lifted last year.
550
So
for reps. Yeah, yep. Yeah,
we've got
so
that
I mean, that'll be
experience
fun.
now.
Um, cool. We're gonna let you guys get out of here. What do you guys think of a short vehicle pull as part of a medley?
That would be interesting to see. I mean, it might need to be like an arm over arm because you're not going to just get strapped up.
You'd have to, yeah, to get a
Yeah.
harness on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As an arm over arm, that would be really cool, actually.
I think something like a vehicle push at the end of a medley would be something quite cool.
That
because you
would
don't
be
have to worry about strapping on. You can kind of get straight into it,
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, pushing like a Hummer or something like that as the
yeah,
final part of a medley. That could be cool.
yeah,
I don't
that could
like it
Or
when it's like equipment that you've got to get set up for or like get into. That would be taken away from the power side of things, I think.
you could start with like a arm over arm, like get that tension, get the
Sure.
vehicle over, then go into the push.
Yep.
a pull and then a put. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be interesting. Cool, guys. Well, we're gonna jump off. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Obviously, give Martins and Lawrence some love here. Super match goes down August 15th. There are still tickets available if you guys want to come watch in person. It'll be ridiculous. We will have a live stream as well for people that aren't in the area or don't want to travel to come watch. And definitely, all that support is definitely appreciated. So all the details, we'll leave a link below the video. Just go to theshawclassic.com and you can click around and find any information that you want. But I wish you guys all the best, man. It's the final countdown, and we will be seeing you soon.
Awesome. Cannot
So
wait.
much.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.